Good morning and welcome to Business Morning. Well, the part of it where we're going to be taking in the World Economic Forum Africa meeting. We're broadcasting live from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, where we have a lot of global leaders, business leaders, captains of industries who have converged here, and we'll be here for the next 48 hours discussing on the best way to move Africa forward. We know that the theme for this year's World Economic Forum Africa meeting is forging inclusive growth and creating jobs. A lot of countries in Africa are growing, but how strong is that growth? How inclusive is that growth? Is that growth creating jobs? Is it translating to what the average man can see on the street? A lot of conversations, a lot of discussions are going to be on this for the next couple of hours. And of course, there are about over 40 sessions, and some of those sessions are going to be broken up into workshops where we're going to have different participants brainstorming and sharing ideas on how best to move Africa forward. It is a very good time for Nigeria. And as you know, the first session for today, one of the first sessions that actually happened today was on Africa Rising. And the coordinating minister of the economy, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who was actually part of the speakers at that session, says that right now there's a challenge of security. It's a global phenomenon. It's something that even the Chinese premier even highlighted during private meetings with the coordinating minister for the economy and other key players of government. So since it's a global phenomenon, definitely it's all hands on deck. But here in Nigeria, they're trying as much as possible not to allow this challenge, this issue, disturb how development is going to be like. And so what was actually pointed out is that about $200 billion is spent each year in Africa, at least, to combat security. And then she says that even in spite of this risk, people are looking for long-term financial investments, and Africa is the best place to come. And so the story is, in spite of the challenges that we have, in spite of the risks that are inherent, Africa is the place to be. They also highlighted the fact that it's not just about building a business, it's about building a brand. Africa is a brand. And so how best will you market Africa? How best will you sell it? Because as much as possible, you're not just doing this for the short term, it's for the long term. And so if you're bringing your business in, you're doing it for yourself and also for Africa. Also, the issue of transparency and the media was highlighted at that African Rising meeting. And it was actually talked about the fact that the media isn't so transparent in reporting activities that happen in the country, and quickly was shut down. The reports are actually there, although negative, but then we have to be very transparent in our analysis of issues that happen here in the country. We need to give investors the true picture of what exactly is going on. But let me not, it's still something we're going to talk about in the course of the program. I'm now being joined on the program by a senior consultant with IHS, Mr. Ade Onitolo. Thank you so much, Mr. Onitolo, for joining me this morning on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Well, this is the 24th edition of the World Economic Forum Africa meeting. What are your expectations from this meeting? Coming from the aspect of what a lot of global investors are going to be looking for from the outcome.
Yeah. I'm particularly enthused by the theme of this WEF, which is about sharing the growth that Africa has and bringing people in. I think this is an opportunity for business, civil society and government to come together and talk about how you grow the economy that is Africa and then how you share that growth. I was talking to a number of young social entrepreneurs yesterday who were doing just that. They were thinking about how to use ICT and a number of other innovative ideas to get young unemployed people into jobs doing something useful. I think there's an atmosphere here of everyone thinking about Africa. It's not in spite of the problems that Africa is growing. It's indeed because of the problems. Those problems are entrepreneurial opportunities, and I think that those ideas are going to be sparked at this forum, and people are going to go away from here enthused and able to, in their own individual space, do what it takes to make the best of this opportunity.
Mr. Onitolo, you actually mentioned the fact that ICT, you met a couple of young people who were looking at how best they can use the ICT to begin to translate that growth into something more physical, more inclusive, so to speak. Now, if, for instance, we have ICT, everybody has knowledge of how to use the computer, a laptop, or even a mobile device, but not so many of them totally use it for entrepreneurial skills. So in that aspect, even that was even still highlighted at this Africa Rising session that's even still going on, the fact that there's a lack of skills. So in terms of trying to use ICT now to, for instance, forge inclusive growth and create jobs, how best can we harness this?
It's a very good question. The education and the training needed to make sure that 50% of our 14 to 24-year-olds do not stay out of a job is crucial. I think the start of it surely is having introduced those fibre optic cables under the sea that allow us to have the prospects of expanding broadband. And once you've got that, you have a connection between countries here and countries in the UK, or countries outside of Africa, and you have an exchange of ideas and education. A lot of education is being delivered over ICT today, and there are loads of ideas for how to do that better. So I think the start really is building the infrastructure for ICT to work, and then from there making sure people are trained up and able to use it. So I think it's a start that we have the ICT.
Post, rebasing of our GDP, we noticed that more investors are now paying particular attention to the kind of numbers that have come out. Now, looking at where we are right now in terms of our economical value and the rest of it, we're trying to see how much of what this new data that is in the market can do in terms of having more investments coming into the country. Now, in terms of looking at the core sectors that have actually been highlighted post-GDP, agriculture, the services industry, entertainment, are these the only, how much of investment, or what angle, how should investment, investors coming into this particular sector be looking at how to grow their business? Should they come in terms of working with smaller companies, small businesses, or should they come in and work with the medium to large businesses?
I think what's been shown in Africa so far is you can make a lot of money out of Africa, but you might not make it for very long unless you make sure that the source of your revenue is those who are providing that revenue to you are also sharing in the benefits. So you need to go into Africa with your investment and think about how do the people who work for you and the communities who are around you benefit from this investment. And if you've got your own profit in mind, and that's secure, and you've got the interests of the people who work for you and the environment in which you're working in mind too, then your business is sustainable. And I think that's what a lot of African governments are about when they talk about beneficiation and industrial policy and local content development. So long as there is a negotiation or discussion between businesses and government and locals about how to make sure that this is a shared investment, I think that the opportunities are rife.